In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about what you can expect on your final exams. So first of all, your final exams are going to be found in Learning Modules, all the way at the bottom to Learning Module 7. And here they are. For the final lecture exam, you're required to use Respondus Lockdown Browser. You should have already had experience using this in the pre-work module, so using this should be familiar to everyone in the course since you've already practiced with it. The purpose for Respondus is to ensure that the person that enrolled in this course is the person that's completing the final exam. So you will have to have a webcam on your computer. It will lock down your browser so that you cannot use any other websites while you're in this exam. And it's going to ask you to go through a series of steps, such as take a picture of yourself, take a picture of your government-issued ID, take a scan of the room, and all of that is, again, to ensure that the person who's taking the final exam is the person who's enrolled in the course. You will have to be seated in front of the webcam the entire time, and you can't be talking to other people or asking other people for for answers to the questions or anything like that during the test. For the final lecture exam, you are allowed one attempt, so you have to really study and prepare before you take that one attempt. The questions from your final lecture exam come from the same test banks of all of your previous questions. So what I did to create the final lecture exam is I compiled all of the test banks for the modules 1 through module 6 lecture test, and then I added some questions about infectious diseases from module 7 and made a giant test bank. So many of the questions you've already seen before on previous tests, and if you didn't see them, they're within that same bank of questions so that they're very familiar. As long as you've studied all of the terms in the study guides, you should be able to answer the questions on this test. Questions are displayed one at a time, and you can only go forward. So you can't go back to change your answer, you can only go forward. So you look at a question, answer it, and move on, and then you won't be able to go back. You must use Respondus, like I said, to access that test. And if you want to see any of your previous tests, all you have to do is go to the My Grades tab. It's right here where it says My Grades. You're going to click on the test that you want to review, and then when it pulls up that second screen, you're going to click on the score of the test that you want to review. And when you click on that, it's going to display all of the questions and the answer that you gave and whether it was right or wrong. It's not going to display the multiple choice options. It's just going to display the question part, but at least you'll be able to go back and review and study that. There is really no way for me to narrow down the topics for the final exam, just because how the final is structured. It is built from all of the test banks from all of your previous module tests, so anything is fair game. And every student will be randomly selected or randomly given 100 of those questions. So you really have no clue which questions you're getting, although you know that you've seen them before and they come from test banks that you have had before. So that's kind of how this is structured for the final lecture exam. A lot of students ask me, what terms do I really need to know? And unfortunately, you really need to know everything. As long as you've been studying diligently throughout the semester, you've been preparing, you've been taking all of your own tests, doing all of your own work, you should be able to do well on that final lecture exam. The final lab practical exam is pretty similar. I took all of the previous test banks from your previous module tests, combined them into one giant test bank, and each student is going to be randomly assigned 50 questions from that larger test bank. You're only allowed one attempt. Questions are presented one at a time, and you can't go back, so you have to answer the question and move forward only. And this is 50 questions, and you get 60 minutes to take the test. This final lab practical includes true, false, multiple choice, and fill-in-the-blank questions. So you may be given a picture and asked to answer the question about that picture. The final lab practical does not require Respondus lockdown. So you just take that in your normal browser how you normally would. If you have any additional questions about the tests, please feel free to reach out. But like I said, it is cumulative, so it's really difficult to narrow it down. Impossible, because anything that you've previously seen on a test is fair game for the final, as well as anything that's on those study guides.